In my previous videos, I've ranked a lot of things. Players, coaches, matchups, and even games itself. But there's one thing I haven't ranked, and that's stadiums. And what better league to start with than the Big 12? Let's get into the video. Hey, what's up everybody? It's Drew, better known as RockChalk01, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking every single Big 12 football stadium from worst to best, and it's all based on my opinion. Yeah, so I know this video is going to spark a little bit of controversy because, well, it's stadiums and it's different teams, and yeah, I know I'm going to get a couple fan bases here and there that are going to say, oh, this stadium's better. Oh no, this stadium stinks. I get it. Not only am I going to rank the current Big 12 teams, I thought of the brilliant idea of including the 4 expansion teams as well. So this will be 14 stadiums instead of 10. Oh boy. But if you guys have any other opinions on where I should have or shouldn't have ranked some of these stadiums, let me know in the comments below. But without further ado, here's the list.
Number 14, David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, Kansas. This one is pretty obvious. There's no doubt in my mind that Memorial Stadium on KU's campus is the worst in the Big 12. And for good reason, because this stadium has zero atmosphere. The stadium opened its doors in 1921, and for the 101st consecutive season, it will be the home to Kansas football. It currently has an attendance of 47,233, and its largest crowd that the stadium has ever seen was back in 2009, when the stadium held a record crowd 52,530 fans. Number 13, Eamon G. Carter Stadium, TCU. Known as Hell's Half Acre, this stadium has kind of gone down the list in recent years, but one factor kind of stands out. Ever since TCU joined the Big 12, their attendance seems to drop drastically. The stadium opened in 1930 and will host its 92nd consecutive season of TCU football. Its current attendance holds 47,000 people, and its record attendance was back in 2009 when it held a record crowd of 50,307 fans. Number 12, FBC Mortgage Stadium, UCF. Although it is one of the newer stadiums in the Big 12, both in age and, well, conference-wise, this stadium has seen its name changed 3 times and has seen its attendance drop over the years. The stadium opened in 2007 and will begin its 15th consecutive season hosting UCF football. Its current capacity sits at 44,206, and its record crowd was back in 2009 when it held a then record 48,453 fans. Number 11, McLane Stadium, Baylor. With the expansion teams included, this stadium is the newest stadium in the Big 12 by a mere 2 days. However, the stadium has seen its attendance fluctuate over the years from season to season. The stadium opened in 2014 and will begin its 9th consecutive season hosting Baylor football. Its current attendance sits at 45,140, but its record crowd happened in 2019 when the stadium saw 50,223 fans for a game against Oklahoma. Number 10, TDECU Stadium, Houston. Nicknamed the Cage, it's one of the newest and most expensive stadiums in the conference, with an insane price tag of $128 million. However, the downside to it, it's one of the smallest in the conference. The stadium opened in 2014 and will begin its 9th season hosting Houston football. It currently has a capacity crowd of 40,000. However, it had a record attendance in November of 2016 when it hosted 42,822 fans. Number 9, McLane Stadium, West Virginia. This stadium is also one of the newer stadiums in the Big 12, but it is on the older side. However, this stadium has seen its attendance fluctuate over the last few seasons, most likely due to West Virginia joining the Big 12. But nonetheless, this stadium opened in 1980 and began its 42nd consecutive season hosting Mountaineer football. Its current attendance sits at 60,000, but it had a record attendance back in 1993 when it held 70,222 fans. Number 8. Jack Trice Stadium, Iowa State. Known as the Jack, this stadium was more towards the bottom of this list, but due to the recent success of Iowa State football in the recent years and an expansion of the stadium, really helped this out, and it's now in the middle of the pack. The stadium opened in 1975 and will begin its 47th consecutive season hosting Iowa State football. Its current capacity sits at 61,500, and its record crowd was at 61,500, but most recently happened on November 7th, 2021 against Texas. Number 7. Lavelle Edwards Stadium, BYU. The largest expansion stadium, and it's now one of the largest in the conference. However, I see it more in the middle of the pack because I see attendance fluctuating in the next few seasons. This stadium opened in 1964 and will begin its 59th consecutive season hosting BYU football. Its current capacity sits at 63,470. However, its largest crowd was back in 1993 against Notre Dame when it held a record crowd of 66,247 fans. Number 6. Nippert Stadium, Cincinnati. Although it is one of the smaller stadiums in the conference, it holds the distinction of being the oldest stadium in the conference. And it also has one of the best college football atmospheres in recent memories. The stadium opened its doors in 1915 and will begin its 107th season hosting Cincinnati football. Its current capacity sits at 40,000 fans. However, it had a record crowd back in 2015 where it held 40,124 fans. Number 5. Jones A&T Stadium, Texas Tech. Not gonna lie, this is probably one of the most underrated stadiums in the Big 12, and it has one of the better atmospheres in the conference to say the least. The stadium opened its doors in 1947, and the Jones will celebrate its 75th consecutive season hosting the Red Raiders. Its capacity crowd sits at 60,454. However, its record crowd was back in 2013 when it held a stadium record 61,836 fans. Number 4. Bill Snyder Family Stadium, Kansas State. Alright, Wildcat fans, you better be happy about this one because there's no doubt that this stadium has one of the best atmospheres in the Big 12. In fact, it's probably one of the 50 toughest places to play in all of college football. Nonetheless, this stadium opened its doors in 1968 and will begin its 44th consecutive season hosting Kansas State football. Its current capacity sits at 50,000 even. However, it had a record crowd back in 2000 when it had 53,811 fans. Number 3. Boone Pickens Stadium, Oklahoma State. Although it is one of the older stadiums in the conference, there's no doubt that this is one of the tougher places to play in all of college football, especially when Big 12 competition comes to play. The stadium opened its doors in 1920 and will begin its 102nd consecutive season hosting Oklahoma State football. Its current capacity sits at 55,509. However, it had a record crowd back in 2013 when it held 60,218 fans. Number 2. Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium, Texas. Although it has seen attendance fluctuate over the years, this is the largest stadium in the conference by a long shot. The stadium opened its doors in 1924 and will begin its 98th consecutive season hosting the Longhorns. Its current capacity sits at 100,119 fans. However, it had a record crowd back in 2018 when the Longhorns faced off against USC and saw an attendance of 103,507 fans. Number 1. Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, Oklahoma. This one is pretty obvious. There is no doubt in my mind that this stadium is the best atmosphere in the Big 12. In fact, it's one of the best atmospheres in all of college football. A top 10 stadium to say the least. The stadium opened its doors in 1923 and will begin its 99th consecutive season hosting the Sooners. The stadium holds a capacity at 80,126, and its record crowd was back in 2017 when it saw 88,308 fans enter its doors.
And that's going to do it for me ranking every single Big 12 football stadium from worst to best based on my opinion. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Also, leave a like, share, and subscribe. Push that notification bell. Tell your friends about these videos. And I should see you again when the next one comes out. But until then, have a good day. Never ever bring exotic dancers to the field house. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.